We see in Chapter 8 of A People's History of the United States, we see the U.S. achieve Western expansion through buying Texas into Union as a state, and then after the Mexican War, the U.S. took New Mexico and California and paid Mexico $15 million. But the real issue was this war with Mexico that developed in this chapter, and we see it kind of start when General Polk orders that to move troops into the Rio Grande to try and challenge the Mexicans, to try and get more land from them. So they set up camp on the Gulf Coast, and then in spring of 1846, all General Polk really needed was a military incident to start the war, so that he could have a tangible incident to start this war. And then we see this happen when Colonial Cross was killed by Indians, and when Taylor's patrol of troops was surrounded and killed and captured or wounded. And then that's when they sent out the message for volunteers to come help with the war. And not everyone was for the war. The Whig Party was against it, but they wanted California as part of the United States. And the American Anti-Slavery Society was against the war too, because they saw it as an attempt, so if they expand the United States, they could expand slavery, or they wanted to try and expand slavery through Mexico. So they were against the war with Mexico. But the newspapers promoted the war, and other newspapers tried to get everyone more into the war, but it went on for a while, so the novelty of the war did wear off. And so through all this fighting and everything, the army really did begin to fall apart after their fighting, and they were winning just because there was a lot more Americans than Mexicans. So America was winning. Like the battle on the Rio Grande, there were 5,000 Mexicans and 500 of them dead, and then there were 3,000 Americans, but only 50 of them died. So America did have the upper hand, but people began dying and of disease and because of the war and deserting the army. So it was harder. It probably was a harder fought battle than it really was. So America responded to this war by joining it, but then they kind of deserted it too in the end.